Oh, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday to all you folks out there in internet land, interweb land, whatever you call it. Whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, whatever. This is Mike from Mike's Magic Auto Detailing and Paint Enhancement, as you can plainly see. No, won't be doing the refrigerator magnet test today because it's not applicable, which maybe I'll get around to explaining here in a few minutes. Oh boy, yeah, buddy. But I do have some refrigerator magnets that are reproductions of my business card. If you would like one, shoot me a PM with your address and I'll drop one in the mail to you. Some people use refrigerator magnets and some people don't. I got a bunch of them on my refrigerator. But anyway, folks, as you may recall, last year, oh, there he goes again, showing photos on his laptop. Mainly because I can't figure out how to put these into the videos. But anyway, last year, it's been, I think, just about a year. Oh, somebody's watching. I can't tell who that is. You may or may not recall, we worked on a 1966 Volkswagen. Hey, Mr. Singleton. Hey, Miss Nita. How you doing, sweetie? Oh, and as you can plainly see, it was in very sad shape. It was a very poor, very cheap paint job, which was then neglected terribly. Let's see if I can get another one to come up here. Oh, that was the front fender. Remember that? Oh, there was the hood, folks. Oh boy, as you can see, it was pretty bad too. What you see right there is where something hit the hood, or I don't know what, but it's paint's gone all the way down to the metal. And there are other places similar to that all over this car where it was all the way down to the metal. And you can see there's some cracking in the paint, lots of scratches, some streaking. Right there, some runs where when they painted it, they let the paint run. There's another spot where it's all the way down to the metal right there. Anyway, the whole car very similar to that. Oh, there's a back fender. Look at that, folks. Remember that. Another spot where it was all the way down to the metal. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh my goodness. There's another rear fender. Same kind of stuff. Look at all this haziness in here. Notice the trim. You know, it's got that milky white appearance to it, which happens a lot to that aluminum trim. I believe it's extruded aluminum. My goodness. Oh boy. But what we did last year, we went in and wet sanded it, all that stuff, compounded it, polished it over and over and over, and then put a very high quality ceramic coating on it, which made it look very well. Right spiffy. And the customer came, picked it up, and basically parked it outside. And I don't think he washed it at all. And so it deteriorated again to some degree. He didn't maintain the ceramic coating, so he decided he wanted to take it to another level. So he brought it back to me, which meant I basically had to start from scratch. I had to strip wash it again, iron decon it, clay bar it, and then I had to compound it for two reasons. That is about the only way to get that ceramic coating off, is to buff it off. And so my purpose, as I said, was twofold: remove the old ceramic coating, and this go around we were going to put the Optimum Clear Coat Restorer on it. And you have to rough up the paint or clear coat a little bit to put that on, because it has to have a surface to adhere to. It has to be slightly scratched. So that's what we did, multiple paint prepping and all that. Well, how did it turn out, you say? Oh, well, you never really get started on this stuff till you have your, you know what, coffee. Well, heck, let's walk out there and take a look, shall we? Okay, here we go again, here we go again. Alrighty then. Well, as you can see, it's a different looking car right now. And I have some notes here because I have some things I don't want to forget to tell you folks. Oh boy, and I'm preparing to put the titanium coating on the glass. Whoa, which means I had to strip it down, the glass on the outside. I clay barred it, then I polished it. Then I prepped it with 100% isopropyl alcohol to make sure that glass is as clean as possible. And okay, you want to see, this is what the Optimum Clear Coat Restorer looks like, folks. That's an empty can right there. It comes in a can because it's some strong stuff. I'm here to tell you. That's a 9-ounce can there. That will cost you about $90 plus postage, which is usually $15, $20, because it's, like I said, it is considered a hazardous material by the shipping industry, so it has to come in that metal can. Oh boy. Now, for this vehicle here, which is a pretty small vehicle, you will use, I'd say 3/4 of this, maybe more, depending on how bad the paint is. I used an entire can and a piece of a can, just because, even though this is a small car, the paint was so bad. There were many places where it just sucked it up. Oh boy, it did. It just sucked it up. Oh, I was going to get my new fancy little, oh yeah, see? I think a lot of folks were complaining about me using my magnetic parts picker-upper for a pointer. So, hey, I got me a real pointer. How about that? What do you think of that, Miss Nita? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. But as you can see, we'll get up a little bit closer here in a minute because I want to show you some other stuff. Oh boy. And the compound that I used, folks, and this is what Optimum recommends, is their Optimum Hyper Compound and Wool Pads. Because a lot of other compounds, which are fine compounds, have stuff in them which is very difficult to prep off the paint, and if it reacts with your clear coat restorer, it will cause problems. And then they recommend you use their Optimum Paint Prep, which I think is a soy-based paint prep. I'm not sure, but there again, I'm just following their recommendations. I use this probably most of the time because I bought a gallon of it. And as I said, I'm getting prepared to put on this DPC titanium S2, they call it. It's a glass coating. It'll last a couple of years, or 2 to 3 years if you apply it properly. And we'll go more into that later. But oh man. And you know, after I prep with paint prep and alcohol on the glass, whatever, I always follow up that with my compressed air and make sure I blow any dust particles or anything off of there before I actually get started putting any kind of coating on either the glass or the paint. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And I even blow my towels and applicator cloths before I do that to make sure there's no dust on them either. Oh boy. And as you can see, I think maybe some of you can tell, and I think I might have went over this the other day, I also polished that aluminum trim. I wet sanded it with 2 or 3 different grades of wet sand, starting with an aggressive and stepping up those down the sides, because I cannot get those off. I would prefer to have taken them off, but they have fasteners, which, as I understand it, you can't get anymore. Don't forget, this car was made in 1966, so I did not remove those. I taped off around them and did those first. And then I went back, after I wet sanded them, I compounded them, and then I took a finishing polish, a very fine metal finishing polish, and a black pad and a very small buffer, and buffed them. And then when I put the Clear Coat Restorer, which is a wipe-on clear coat, self-leveling, literally it is a clear coat, and I also clear coated this stuff here to protect them and to keep them from turning back. That trim around the windows, all that was clear coated as well. As you can see, once again, just like last time, I removed the emblems. I removed the trim. There's a trim piece that goes down the middle of the hood. I removed the headlights, everything that I could get off of here, I got off. I removed the rear view mirrors because I wanted, when I was wet sanding and compounding, I wanted to get this paint as flat as possible everywhere and get the clear coat on it every inch of this exterior that I possibly could, so that places like that where it's damaged all the way down to the metal, you can see under the headlight here, there's places like that all over this car. What I wanted to do was make sure that this will not get worse anytime soon. So I also took a little disc and I sanded this down, got it as level as possible. I treated it with rust inhibitor, let that dry, paint prepped it, and then I put the clear coat heavy over these rusted spots. And so there's a spot there that was down to the primer. It's not rusted, but the same procedure. But as you can see, the entire car now has had the Optimum Clear Coat Restorer, and I kind of jumped ahead of myself by accident, because what I want to do now, as you can see, in some of the spots where the paint was really terrible, the clear coat just got sucked in and it left a hazy spot. So my plan is, after this cures, which takes 48 hours for it to completely cure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recompound these areas and reapply the Clear Coat Restorer over those areas. It'll be fine. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And I had to order more, not sure when it'll be here, but overall it came out very nicely, and none of these areas will get any worse than they are right now anytime soon. It will preserve it for a very long time. To get this off, if you wanted to remove this Clear Coat Restorer completely off of this vehicle, you would have to wet sand it off. That's how strong of a bond it forms. And places like this, that's all been heavy coated in clear coat in an attempt to protect these areas. And you can see that up there. That was all almost totally white. The roof came out pretty nicely. There's some spots on it. There's a few hazy spots, you know, here and there around this vehicle that I want to redo. But as you can see, if you remember the photo of that fender, looks like the fender's been replaced or repainted. Oh boy, this fender, same way. Man, oh man. Oh lordy, and look at this. Engine cover, trunk, hood, I don't know what you call it. It was in horrible shape. Looked terrible. Now it looks really good, very happy with how that turned out. That was all messed up along there. It was all wet, sanded, polished again, all that kind of stuff. And that was clear coated heavily, even though there's a piece of aluminum trim that goes over the top of that. I did it anyway. These posts were redone. You could see how the roof came out. Nice, nice, nice. Remember this fender? It was in very bad shape. It was almost white. Then I'd say pretty much restored back as good as it's going to get. All this area here. Look at all this, man. This is like a mirror here. This is great. Woo-wee. Man. Don't even look like the same car. Remember this fender? It was awful shape. Yep, now there's a spot there that I'm going to try to redo just because that's the way I am. But you know what, down there, man, it's fine. Fine. That is so shiny, it's ridiculous. And once again, I'll explain, I did the same thing to the trim on this side as I did the other side. But my plan is when I get the other can of Clear Coat Restorer in and I try to fix these, this vehicle is going to get the new titanium coating on over the top of that. And if there are some of these kind of scratchy spots left, which some of that's just all the way down through the base coat, there's not much you can do about that. But the titanium will help fill some of that, and the shine and gloss will be increased dramatically, and it will last about 6 years if it's maintained properly. As I said, I'm getting ready to, right now, I'm going to go ahead and put the titanium coating on this glass. I think I showed you guys that a while ago. There are some particular instructions on that, and I don't know if I showed you guys this. That's the titanium. That's not a very big bottle. I think there's, what, 50 milliliters or something like that in there. But you will use, even on a small car like this, I can almost reach that whole windshield from one side of the car. So it's not that big of a windshield, but you have to put 2 coats of this on the windshield, and there's a process for that, and waiting times, curing times. But you will use, on this car, I'll probably use that much of the product, because you have to put 2 coats on the windshield, and you have to apply it heavy, heavy, heavy on the windshield, because you got wiper blades and so forth and so on. The rest of the car, you only have to do 1 coat. I will not be doing these rear windows because they're a plexiglass type of material, an aftermarket thing. I'm not sure it would adhere to that. But the rear windshield, which is glass, will get it as well. And the coating on the side windows will last even longer than the ones on the windshield, for obvious reasons. You can see I've got the wipers off. Everything I could get off is off of here. Oh me, oh my. But I'm getting ready to, I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and I've got these pieces that I've got off, the mirrors and trim and all that stuff, and everything I could get off. I'm going to go ahead and polish all that and put the clear coat. I've got a little bit left over, and I'll put it on those pieces, let that start curing, and hopefully we'll get done with this bad boy pretty soon. But the curing times is one of the things that slow you down. But this was some meticulous work, because you had to get all in every little space with every process, and went to the extremes on paint prepping, because if you don't paint prep this car properly, the Clear Coat Restorer will mess up on you, I'm telling you. And that stuff, I'm not going to say it's a DIY project, but it can be. But there is a learning curve involved with it. So if you decide you want to get some, and all you got to do is Google it, it'll pop up. Like I said, it's going to cost you over $100. But you know what? You had best count on the first can going to learning how to use it. It's just the way it is, in my opinion, unless you're just really, really good at this stuff. You know, I wasted the first can on my car and did it wrong. So I have to go back now and do that one over again. And not all cars are candidates for the Clear Coat Restorer. Not every car needs it or is a candidate for it. But if you have a really old, bad, hammered, terrible, failing clear coat or single stage paint, you can put the Optimum Clear Coat Restorer on there, and it will most of the time kind of bring it back to life, rejuvenate it, and protect what you have for a very, very long time and keep it from getting any worse anytime soon. So I just wanted to do a relatively short video. Somebody told me one day, Mike, you don't do short videos. But see, I made sure I got in all those spaces around there, and I dabbed it real heavy on all those spots that are down to the metal. I didn't care if it ran a little bit. You know, I just wanted to make sure those were protected and try to stop that rust. Because if you don't stop the rust, it will continue to spread and affect your paint. It'll just get bigger and bigger and bigger as far as the paint failure goes. The rust spots won't really get too much bigger, but you know, the whole idea on this car and why this customer wants to preserve this paint job, I really don't know. Maybe it's because he doesn't want to pay for an entire paint job for the whole car, and he just wants to keep it kind of ratty looking. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's what he wanted, so that's what we're doing. But when I get some of this stuff fixed and we get the titanium coating on the paint, I'll come back, and I may come back and show you what the titanium coating on the glass looks like. Oh boy, I love that stuff. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Beats hands down any other glass coating on the market today. And it is a DIY project. Nothing to it. It's not rocket science. And maybe I'll come back and show you guys a little bit of the process on the windshield. There's a couple of videos out there on how to do it. If I can figure it out, I'll try to put the link to one of them in this video when it goes up on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, speaking of that, hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified of the future videos I do on the 66 Volkswagen before it gets out of here. And if you're on Facebook, like, share, follow, all that stuff. Whatever it is, I'm not sure I understand all that. Make a comment below. If you got a question, ask me a question. I'll be happy to answer it if I can. If I possess that knowledge, I will spit it right out. If I don't, I will try to get an answer for you. Thank goodness I don't have to do the inside of this car. Oh boy. But I may go back and clean the interior of the windows a little bit so I can easily tell what's on the outside as opposed to what's on the inside. You know, sometimes it gets kind of difficult. But anyway, folks, I do appreciate y'all watching. Catch up with me next time. Thank y'all all very, very much. Goodbye.